welcome, Stan and Kara. We're going to talk about parenting, attachment, neurobiology, things like that, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Will you, because not everybody knows each of you, will you do a brief bio, like super short, who are you? And then we'll get into our conversation.
Great. I'm Kara Hoppe. I'm a couple therapist, and I'm also the co-author of Baby Bomb, a relationship survival guide for new parents, which drops today.
Boom.
The sound, by the way, is really soft on my end. I'm not sure on the phone, but it's really soft. It just went really soft.
Okay.
I'm Stan Tatkin. I am a couple therapist, a researcher, developer of a psychobiological approach to couple therapy, otherwise known as PACT, and author of books like We Do and Wired for Love.
And most recently?
Oh, of course. And Baby Bomb. What am I saying?
Baby Bomb. Okay. And I'm Jason Gaddis, host of the Relationship School podcast, author, and dad, husband, dude. So really good to have you all here. And I'm psyched. So can we start with the title of the book, Baby Bomb? I have my own story about what that means. Like, help us out. What does that mean?
Well, since you're a father, Jason, I'm guessing your own story is probably right on track with the book. It was born from, Stan and I have been friends and colleagues for years and years, and he taught me how to be a couple therapist over 10 years ago. And of course, I'd worked with couples who were parents and they were struggling integrating the whole parenting and partnering jam. But it really wasn't until I had my own experience becoming a mother that I realized what a bomb it was.
Got it.
It was under that umbrella that nobody ever tells you about parenting. I didn't realize how much my relationship with my husband was going to change.
Yeah, and I want to get into that exactly because it does change completely, right?
Yeah, from the inside out. We both became different people.
Yeah,
of course, becoming parents, and then of course our partnership became different.
Yeah, exactly. And so, Stan, do you have a different version of Bomb, or is that aligned with your version of?
No, it's the same one. It is a surprise. Of course, it's a lovely bomb, but it's a surprise and one that people aren't prepared for. As much as they read about it and hear about it, it's we could say baby surprise, but Baby Bomb I think is really kind of cool.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Totally. Someone just dropped a bomb in my house here. And yeah, that's what your house looks like, right? As a new parent, it kind of looks like a bomb went off. Once you have a couple little kids running around.
Right. And your heart.
Oh, totally. Good point.
That immediate, whoa, love just reached a whole new decibel when you become a parent.
Yeah.
By the way, thank you all of those for the very sweet messages. I've been seeing them scroll by.
Yeah, totally. And by the way, we're going to take some questions from you all as questions come up. We're going to do our best to answer those from Kara and Stan. Okay. So talk about, I think part of the book is what you were telling me, because it comes out today, so I haven't officially read it. So I'm eager to get it and read it. Is that there's this new baby and it really dramatically, as you were just saying, Kara, impacts the relationship. And parenting is probably going to happen more effectively and better if the couple is aligned and working together as a team, right? So maybe talk about the problem first, which is what happens to new parents when the first baby comes along, and where do things start to go off the rails, and what does it look like so people can kind of relate?
That's a really great question. I can just think about personally where I didn't realize how much it was going to change me from the inside out. I didn't realize how I was going to look at my life differently, my career goes differently, my husband differently, my whole my support system.
Hey, wait, Kara, sorry, I got to interrupt you. You're on mute on Zoom so that this won't be recorded on the podcast. If you unmute yourself
we're multitasking, folks.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Thanks. Yeah. Will you say that again? So you were talking about your own marriage, how it started. You started to transform as a person, and then keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I became a different person. I remember one client had said to me before I became a parent, she talked about her journey into motherhood and said it was like becoming a new gender. And at the time when she said that, I was like, I didn't have a place to put it. And then when I became a mother, I was like, oh, yeah. I mean, there's just so much to learn. As you know, Jason, like there's no learning curve, how to, bust out those five, those five different S's of soothe. Like, is it a swaddle? Is it this? Is it this? And
Oh,
is
right.
this? It's really stressful becoming a parent. And it's also really vulnerable because, neither one of you have ever done it before. And so like, I'm really vulnerable. My husband, Charlie, is very vulnerable. So we're seeing each other in a new light that way.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. And Stan, I'm curious from your clinical experience also, just what you see with these new parents. Like, Kara's saying, we have this kid and all of a sudden everything starts to change. So what are some of the common things you see with brand new parents in the couple?
Well, definitely the most common thing is going from twos to threes, going from dyads and triads, right? We're a primary couple system, and now there's a third, right? And that third, the wanted and adorable, is now taking up a lot of resources that are ordinarily used between the partners. And so roles become very different. The primary caregiver has a job to do to really tune into the baby. And now both parents can do that, but there's usually a primary. And that primary has to be preoccupied with the baby to pick up cues and to be there fully present, fully attentive. That can make the other partner feel left out. It can feel like a third wheel if they're not prepared. There's a thing about regulating the regulator, right? The caregiver, the primary caregiver, while they're active, is regulating the baby, who's regulating the regulator, and that's the secondary parent. So being prepared for this goes a long way towards the two of them working together as a couple, so as not to feel that there is only one parent. The other one is now just standing behind doing nothing.
Yeah, and can we just zero in on like just a normal common dynamic we might see where in a heteronormative relationship where dad is a new dad and he's like, whoa, and he starts, let's say if mom and baby are bonding really well, dad feels like that third wheel. Baby's on,
and that happens, by the way, in same-sex coupling.
Okay,
the same problem.
Yeah. Cool. And so dad feels like the third wheel, and left out, like you said, and then sexually neglected, perhaps because mom's body's now being consumed by this baby if the mom is breastfeeding. And the guy's like, hey, what about me? And then she starts feeling like turned off, or like, wait, I don't want all this stuff on my body all the time. Like, it's not, I'm supposed to just flip a switch and be turned on now. And now I've got this, little baby. Like, this seems very complicated, right? It is, obviously.
It is. And I'm going to let Kara take over on this to talk about overtouch. But this is a really common misunderstanding with the secondary parent having to do with the changes in the baby carrying caregiver, right? To date, it's only women until it changes, right? And there are hormonal changes. There are all sorts of changes that are happening that the secondary parent doesn't really get. Go ahead, Kara.
Yeah. I mean, I can speak from my own personal experience and from clients I've had in my practice. I mean, my body was like at the beginning, after giving birth, my body was completely focused on feeding and taking care of my son. And so it's a journey to go from that's part of the bomb aspect of my body becoming so consumed by this really important task. But then there's like a journey back to taking that back to being my own body that could be used in ways that are, for pleasure for myself. That is a journey that mothers go on. It is not a switch. Right. It is not an overnight experience. I mean, we need to think about like bringing sex back in after a baby bomb, like redefining romance. Like I went to this couple in my practice one time that was like, what's romantic? When you unload the dishwasher and do the dishes and wash my breast pump, equipment, like that's romance for me right now. So
yeah. So, okay. So one of the common snags here, it sounds like, it is the third, going from a dyad to a triad. And I'm curious what do you write about in the book, and what is the sort of basic suggestion here? Because it sounds so obvious. Yeah, of course we're going from 2 to 3, but I think people have no idea about how big of an impact that is.
May I? A lot of people don't prepare ahead of time for much of anything, particularly couples. It's the one union that isn't expected, although I do, isn't expected to have a shared purpose or a shared vision, or to predict and plan the future, what could possibly go wrong. And one of those things is not being fully resourced. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about having support, having partners think ahead about how they're going to support each other, how they're going to deal with sleepless nights, how they're going to deal with their partnership, because the baby's coming to the couple's party, right? They're supposed to be good caregivers of each other. Children are passing through, right? So the couple must exist throughout, and they must protect that system by thinking ahead and thinking, how are they going to deal with, particularly with emotional resourcing and physical resourcing. Kara?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was just thinking, as you were saying, about the most important thing about going from the dyad to the triad is keeping the dyad taking care of each other. I mean, both partners need care so much more during this transition than probably any other transition. I mean, it's a beautiful experience, and it is a crisis. And in crisis, we need support, we need care. Both partners do. Both partners need understanding, and teamwork with like a capital T. I mean, like I remember at the beginning of parenthood having to like have a committee meeting just to go to the bathroom or take a shower. I mean, it's so you're entrenched in each other, and so it's so easy for couples to at that time for things to go off the rails, because you really need each other too, more so than probably any other time in your coupledom. You need each other.
Yeah, completely. And there's one other dynamic I want to name. Kara, will you just try hitting mute on your keyboard?
Oh yeah.
Because I think it's impacting Stan's audio. You did. Yeah, there you go. At least that part got muted. So here's another thing that I noticed when I was a new dad, that I don't think many people talk about, and I'd love to get your guys' take, which is my early childhood shit around attachment started to get triggered, and I had no idea what was going on. And I started feeling rage, for example, when my daughter, my second child, my daughter, was like screaming in the middle of the night and couldn't sleep and had, eczema or whatever. There was a journey to make, and I just felt blind rage. And I was like, what is going on here? And my story I eventually put together was some of my early memories of being left in the crib, for example, or the cry it out kind of vibe. So can you guys speak to some of the unknown stuff that parents are going to be maybe clueless about, like, why am I acting this way? Or why I'm supposed to be happy and I feel angry and miserable and pissed and depressed, and what's going on?
May I start with that, Kara? Is it okay? Yeah. So sound is one of the triggers for trauma, right? Sound is the earliest trigger. And the reason sound is an alarm system is we need sound in order to know whether there's danger or not. So the baby cries, that's an alarm. Some mothers also experience rage with the sound of crying. That's a problem. But fathers will often feel it because they're not wired in the same way. The screaming, the crying is a call, right? It's a constant call. It's an alarm, and it's a threat alarm. So the response of anger would be appropriate if there's nothing I can do. Like I keep hearing it at night, then I start to feel rage. Now, you could also have memory, right? Because we're memory animals. You could have memory from being left alone in the crib, and maybe nobody came to you in a timely fashion, right? So it can be a lot of things, and sometimes it's something. The simplest answer is the easiest, and that is the sound itself is a siren, which alerts us. That's why when you might have heard sometimes you and your wife get into a fight with one of your children, you get agitated. We get agitated because we hear the sound, and it sounds like a siren, an alarm, a call to action. Right. And sometimes we just want it to stop, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't thinking about the sounds and crying, but I was thinking about how there is an opportunity. It does happen where as you have a child and as that child ages and hits different ages, it can trigger different memories for us. Mm-hmm. And I like to think about it as the psyche is always aimed at healing. And so these are opportunities where, yes, we're triggered, and there is something like what happened with you, Jason, that is an invitation to heal there, like what happened. Yeah. And then you came up with a narrative about it. But anyway, all the more reason for partners to be taking care of each other with these different memories and experiences that can be triggered to help each other get these narratives and figure out like what's happening and help each other have healing in a way you wouldn't have had without this experience.
Yeah, totally.
It's important to keep in mind that we're memory animals. That's really all we do. Everything we do is built on memory and recognition. So we generally just do what we know, and what we know is what we've experienced or seen. And that comes up. It's astonishing that some caregivers who were never held as babies hold their children away as infants until a certain age when they themselves were held, and that's when they hold their children. They don't even realize that they're doing what they remember was done. And that's who we are. The only way we don't do that is self-knowledge and overriding, right? Totally. We have under stress, our go-to is what we have experienced, always our go-to. But then we learn, and then we override it, and we have the help of a partner that helps us calm down and helps us do better.
Completely. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me how many new parents don't want to learn and instead want to subordinate to their memory, basically.
Well, that's the majority of the world. We have to understand that the baseline of the human being is to do the simplest, easiest, least energy expending thing. Yeah. And that is memory.
I know, but it creates so much pain. Oh man!
But the thing is, we have to also understand that except maybe in a few pockets of our society, very few people are motivated to learn about themselves or to become self-aware. That takes a lot of effort, and in our world, people really don't have a reason to do that unless they're enlightened and by enrichment and education, or they're forced because they're suffering. Suffering is often the way. Suffering is often our way to enlightenment. This is well known because there's only one way out, and that is to be smarter and to be wiser.
Yeah, totally. Learn through pain. Yeah, pain wakes me up. Well, talk about secure functioning a little bit, because I just want everyone listening to make sure they understand what that means. I know you guys are big proponents of that. And how many, like, how does a couple move from, in a way, parenting insecurely and like dealing with each other insecurely to what you would call secure functioning?
Do you want to start with this?
Sure. I mean, it doesn't, for the thing about the really cool thing about secure functioning is it doesn't matter what your attachment style is. Anybody can learn how to do this. It is about it. I mean, I had to learn how to do this. I have learned how to do this. And now I can offer that secure attachment to my son because I have learned how to do it. And yes, it was because of suffering that was like a motivator.
Right.
But it was also really because I wanted to offer myself, my husband, my son, something different that was offered to me. So secure functioning is, it's about two people making a decision to choose each other, to have a shared vision. They're invested for the long game. It's almost like this faith in something bigger than us. Like I was explaining, like I want something bigger than something I can do myself. My husband and I can do for each other more than I can do for myself. So I'm direct about my own needs. I ask for care when I need it, which is difficult for me, but that is a big part of secure functioning. And I'm feeling like I want Stan to jump in because Stan, I'm wanting Stan to jump in because I learned secure functioning from Stan.
For sure. Yeah.
It's a team. It's a team. In all free societies where there is union, it's based on shared power and authority. It's based on we want the same things and we don't want the same things, right? Let's not do this, let's do that. So it's interdependency, two separate people, interdependent, their lives depend on each other, to get somewhere, to accomplish something, to live a good life, to live a safe and secure life. And they agree that they have to move together or they will not be able to move at all. So we talk about fairness and justice between two people, sensitivity between two people. Nothing one person does will go unresponded to, right? Will never happen. And so it's a different orientation, one that, by the way, certain cultures demand in order to live that culture, like in the military. The person to your left and right are more important than you. You're not important. They're going to save your life. And that interdependence, that sense of we're in it to protect each other from each other and everybody and everything else, makes for relationships that last a lifetime. So we know that context is everything. And when people understand the context they're in, they have to move together or they won't move. Nothing will happen and they won't get anything accomplished.
And is it possible, just kind of maybe the obvious question, is it possible to be in an insecure partnership and raise a secure child?
It is possible, depending on who else is in the environment. And then, of course, we have to determine how insecure. But generally speaking, because nature repeats itself, right? Biology repeats itself. Since we're memory animals, chances are pretty good that an insecure parenting style that's solid and it stays that way, think of it as a culture, is going to beget a culture of children who also operate in that manner, where the self is more important than union or relationship.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kara.
May I add something about the secure functioning? I think also, it necessitates both people being equally in. And that's why we wanted to write Baby Bomb for Partners, because we needed a book out there that was inclusive to both partners. So both partners it spoke to both partners, not just to moms, not just to dads, all different kinds of couples. And I just wanted to say that because it takes an equal investment. If it's not an equal investment, it's not secure functioning.
Yeah, totally. You got to have two willing partners, right, to be a team.
And it's not smart, by the way. If I don't invest fully in you, that's how I get robbed. That's how I get cheated. Because obviously I'm not putting all into you, and you know that, and therefore it's not worth much. It's not much invested. So,
right, and I would be focused on meeting my own needs and taking care of myself. Therefore, abandoning the relationship if I felt like you weren't fully in it. If we were a couple, that's what breaks down.
That's so common.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's so common.
Yeah. And so to Kara's point, both Kara and I put all our money on each other, and we're fully in across the board. Now we're safer because we have the same things to lose and the same things to gain. And let's go further. We don't make any decisions without getting each other first on board fully. That means if we make the wrong choice, it's on both of us. If we make the right choice, yay. It's safer. It works better. Yeah.
Hey, quick interruption here. If you're in pain relationally and you need immediate support, our coaches can help you. I've trained almost 100 coaches at this point, relationship coaches that are amazing humans, and they have the chops to help you get through this hard time, this hard moment you're going through. Or if you want to actually hire a coach and have someone in your corner to continue to up-level your communication skills, your listening skills, your conflict skills, these folks are incredible. Okay. So all you need to do is go to relationshipschool.com/MRC. That stands for My Relationship Coach. So relationshipschool.com/MRC. All right. If you want immediate, direct, effective help, check them out. Okay. Let's tie in interactive regulation a little bit. In terms of part of secure functioning, my understanding is this interactive regulation, right? Like I help you out, you help me out when I'm upset, dysregulated, et cetera. So how does interactive or co-regulation tie in here?
Well, I think we talked about in the book that partners are still expected to make contact with each other, to be face-to-face, eye-to-eye at times, to have moments that are quiet love, meditative, that are just going on beings in a conflict, that they're not constantly in motion. Although they're not going to be because it's exhausting, but that there is interactive regulation is something we automatically do when we're face to face and eye to eye, most of us, and that is a way that human primates care for each other emotionally. Only in the primate world does that happen. Doesn't happen in any other mammalian corner of the world. Interactive regulation. As a contract, what you're saying is that if one of us is in distress, the other one drops everything and takes care of that distress, because where you go, I go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And once you have this established in your partnership, this level of safety, this level of trust, this level of security, I mean, it's just like, for me, like the sound of my husband's voice is calming to my body.
Right.
Like I immediately know, okay, I'm home. I'm going to get care. I'm going to get what I need. I'm not going to be looked over. And that's what we want to help parents offer to each other, so they can offer that to their child or children. Really important to us.
Yeah. And my understanding of the parent-child sort of attachment dynamic, some people think it's one way. It's like, no, the parent just takes care of the child. But it's my understanding of attachment science is it's actually this beautiful kind of dance between parent and child where there's interactive regulation going both ways. Is that right?
It's been written about since Freud. Melanie Klein talked about this. Interoception projection. Right? There's this ongoing circular pattern of interaction. Eric Erickson talked about it in noticing children, babies, and their mothers. That one person seems to start the whole process. Should be baby, but often isn't. And then you can't tell who is starting, who's ending, who's leading, who's following. And that is that interactive pattern that starts postnatally.
Yeah. And it's also, I'm just curious to get your guys' take on when, like, because you get this probably question a lot, Stan, around codependency. Like, people get confused here and they think, gosh, I'm supposed to, every time Kara gets triggered, I'm just supposed to like go help her out. What about me? I'm triggered. And then like, if I'm always doing it for Kara and she doesn't do it for me, like anyway, like people get really, I think, scared here that it's going to turn into some, I don't know, over enabling kind of like a person can't actually cry on their own type of thing. Like, will you guys speak to that a little bit? And then we got a question from one of the IG listeners.
If Kara and I are truly interdependent, then we're keeping our mind and our ears and senses out for unfairness. And if I'm particularly needy this month, which I'm often am, if I'm particularly needy this month, I am going to do more for my partner because I don't want. I want to keep us balanced. Mm-hmm. And so we talk about being as needy as you want to be, as long as the other person is needy as they want to be. About we're each other's burdens. Codependency is partner A is focused on an addiction or something else, and partner B is focused on partner A. And not in a way that is bilateral or fair or interactive or cooperative right. and collaborative. It's one direction only. That's codependency. I'm working for crumbs. I'm doing this so I get something back, and I'm angry because I never do.
Right. And also, I'm not okay till you're okay. And that is not interdependency. Interdependency is two differentiated people making decisions themselves that's for the better of them and for the better of a shared vision with the person they pick to make that shared vision with.
Yeah, I'm glad
leaders,
you said
2 generals, 2 bosses.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Shared power.
Shared power, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't work.
I'm glad you said I'm not okay until you're okay. I'd love to just unpack that just for a minute, because I notice just even in myself sometimes if my wife is pretty dysregulated, I all of a sudden notice I'm dysregulated, right? And so there's a truth in that, right? That she's not okay, I'm not okay.
Right.
So where how does one know when that's okay, she's not okay and that's not a problem actually. I'm not okay all of a sudden and that's not a problem and I need to work with this, and how do I help her out, but not as a way to try to regulate myself necessarily, because I think that's what you're trying to, I don't know, can you guys tease that apart a little bit, or am I understanding you right?
Sure. I mean, I'm just thinking immediately, as soon as you say that, Jason, you're right. If my husband's okay, I'm concerned. I love this man, but it's I'm putting the oxygen mask on myself first before I'm going to go in and help regulate him. I'm getting my sea legs. I'm working on my own regulation to take care of him. And then it's going to come back to me. Mm-hmm. It's back and forth between the two of us.
Cool.
There are all sorts of ways of looking at it. We're both driving in an ambulance, and one of us starts to go wild. One of us has to put her hand on the wheel, otherwise we both go off the cliff. So I could complain that you're dysregulated and you're dysregulating me. What about me? Well, the first person who's in the most need we have to take care of, otherwise we both go off the cliff. So as Tracy will tell me sometimes, one crazy person at a time. It's my turn, she says. And I go, okay. He's like the catcher. I'm ready.
Yeah, bring on the crazy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we got a question from a couple of questions coming in here from listeners. And then, first of all, this will be, saved and hopefully posted on our profiles, but also it'll be on the Relationship School podcast if you want to catch the recording later. Okay, Dr. Cal says, can a traditional marriage with unequal gender roles still be secure functioning?
Absolutely.
Unequal gender roles. It has nothing to do with preferred gender roles delegation. It does have to do with the felt sense of fairness and justice, the felt sense of safety and security. If you feel the least bit unsafe or insecure, Jason, I have to take care of that and not to say, well, that's your problem. No, it's my problem, because you will start to underperform for me, and I have to make sure that you feel absolutely safe and secure. Otherwise, I'm creating a problem for myself. So whatever arrangements people have, if they believe it's fair and just, that's fine.
Yeah, we want to help people navigate win-wins no matter what it looks like.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, another one from Maddie. How do you build security for kids after one parent has left? Continually reassuring my daughter that I am here and not going anywhere, but I think she will have an anxious attachment style.
Not necessarily. People separate, and when I was very young, it seemed like a rarity to me, but it was surprising. It's no longer surprising. It's in a manner in which people separate, and whether they are, contemptuous with each other. That's one thing. So how the parents are behaving toward each other, the age of the child, but it's a loss. And life is actually filled with losses. If there's a divorce, a separation, it's sad, terrible, but it's another opportunity to parent and lead. Because it's, as bad as it is, what is really felt to be bad is how the parents are behaving and whether they're tearing each other asunder. That is the worst.
Yeah.
Because that's taking one parent away from a child, or taking the other parent away, or both parents away.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's actually taking both parents away. Because if you have one parent that's shit talking another parent, you don't have either parent. You've lost them all.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Never recommend that. Okay, here's a good one. Maybe also pertaining to your book here, from Offering Grace. How would you recommend redefining roles and responsibilities within the household once the baby arrives?
Kara, you want to take it?
Yeah, I'm thinking about this. I just wrote a piece about it actually for New Harbinger for a book about how, because if you have a birthing mama, like there's a biological, like heavier responsibility to, for nursing if you choose to, or you can, and obviously giving birth. At some point though, I'll just use a personal example. For me, I was the primary parent, and I loved being the primary parent, but all these things like accrued over time. Like I realized that Charlie and I were both changing our fair share of diapers, but I was ordering the diapers. I was finding the pediatricians. I was like, pinging other mom friends, asking about like the best swaddles and doing that, like all of that emotional labor. And then it just got to a point where I was like, this isn't fair. And this isn't what we agreed upon. And so the way we solved that was having just like a conversation about it, where we got really specific about what each of us were doing when it came to parenting. Every Google search, every Amazon order, like everything counted. And then we redistributed the labor. It was like I felt I was the babysitting czar. Like I had made all the points of contact with all of the babysitters and done the interviews, and I had all of them on my cell phone. And I felt so much joy in relieving that, like all of these tasks, like, no, you're in charge of this, you're in charge of this, you're in charge of this. So I had more care to give to our son. I was receiving more care from my husband. So I think that getting very specific and the redistribution of labor is a way to make it more equitable.
Nice. That's really helpful. I'm curious, can we just hang out with the fairness principle here just for a minute? Because sometimes people get really stuck on fairness and keeping score. And I'm not saying you and your husband were doing that, but it can start to look like that, right? If, gosh, I'm starting to feel resentful because I'm doing more than you in whatever part of our household. But then there's the fairness of like, look, when we get in a fight, you take responsibility for your part. I'll take responsibility for my part. That's fair. This is what we do. It's very unfair when one person's doing it and the other person isn't. So how do you guys talk about this fairness without getting people so hung up on and rigid about, it's got to be fair? Like, I'm curious if that's how you teach about that and speak about that.
If people are thinking, again, as a team, where one of us goes, so goes the other, then we're more likely to work on policies, not each other. So what we want people to do is to work on problems together, not each other. As soon as people work on each other, that's the end. They go to war, they get nothing. And so, again, this is a team. Team can't afford to start battling within itself. We have to focus on how to solve this problem for now. I want something that's fair. You think that is a little picky, but you still have an interest in making sure I'm relieved. Therefore, we're constantly working together to make it good for me. That's a constant. Now, if I'm overly picky about this, and we're working as a team, then we can also talk about whether we want to do that or not, whether we want to bog each other down daily with this matter, or whether we're going to lighten up and give each other some slack, because would I like you doing the same thing? Let's say I did the same thing. Would that be okay with you? Well, yeah, but then we'll be spending a lot of time litigating things like this, and we've got a lot to do. Let's say we limit that. See, here's what partners are trying to do constantly. We're trying to create as much freedom as we can to be ourselves, but not so much freedom that we encroach on each other's rights or impinge on each other's sensibilities. That's where we limit, right? So we never limit too much. Being picky about fairness, being counting, becomes too limiting. And if we're talking about this as good for me, good for you, and people are doing this in a sober way, in other words, they're not drunk on adrenaline, then they're talking about the problem. Do we really want to play it this way? Because it's taking a lot of our time and a lot of our resources when we could be doing a lot of other things. Yes, we want to be fair, but we also need enough freedom, enough relaxation, and enough give for us to actually move. And again, this goes back to the orientation problem. People who are oriented towards one person system are going to cause problems because it's me, my, mine, me, my, mine, or it's you, you, you. That will never work.
Yeah, cool. Very helpful. We're running out of time, folks, and we've got a couple more questions. You guys up for a couple more Instagram questions here?
Sure.
And then we'll wrap it up. Cool. I know we could go on and on here, but I think it's we got to start winding down. So, how does one deal with toxic in-laws, especially the enmeshed mother that can't let her son go and sees me as the bad guy?
Yeah.
I think we're talking about thirds again.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. You gotta, you and your partner, you have to be the insiders, the mother-in-law, and everybody else is the outsider.
Right.
So reprioritizing the dyad, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Kara and I say we're primary. This is our, we were a sovereign nation. We rule the fiefdom that we've created in our heads, and we manage everybody, including each other. That means that to use Kara's excellent example of metaphor, we put the oxygen masks on each other, and we make sure that we don't lose in a bid with thirds. Otherwise, there's trouble in Riverdale City here. So we have to put people in their place, hold on to them with boundaries, and unfortunately, mom has to lose a lot. Not every time, and not everything. Just her bid to be primary.
Does
primary in town?
That's right.
Yeah, this is a primary town. Yeah, she's a deposed queen.
Does the kid, back to the baby example, does the kid have to lose every time if the parents are primary? Is that sort of the same frame there?
No, it's exactly the opposite. The whole idea of parents being the primaries and taking care of each other is so they can offer the best for their child.
Right on. Yeah.
Because it becomes problematic when the parents aren't taking care of each other. They can't be the parents they want to be, the people they want to be, on and on and on. And we all know this from our own experiences, I'm sure, of our own relationships. Like when our relationships with our primary is off, that tends to change everything.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then all children will be forced to have to take care of the parents in some way. If the parents aren't happy, kids can't be kids.
Yeah.
Or if the parents aren't happy, one parent will co-opt the child, and that's not fair.
No. We want to help people learn not to do that. If that's happened to them, it's about learning something different.
Right. Isn't that wild that kids, that's so fascinating to me that kids will, when they sense something's off, no matter how old they are, they'll start taking care of the parent, one of the parents. It's not wild. It's just so wild.
Well, they need
survival.
that environment. It's survival. They need everything to be safe. If they get a whiff of mom and dad, or mom and mom, dad and dad aren't taking care of each other, they fill in the gaps unconsciously, automatically, because their survival is dependent on that. And then they lose. I mean, the whole system does. But they, like Stan said, they're not allowed to be kids anymore.
Totally.
And,
okay, Kara and Stan, as we wind down here, final thoughts and just on, in the theme of baby bomb, what other sort of departing words here do you have as we exit and recommend people to take this further, they actually get the book and dive in?
Kara, would you like to?
I just want to reiterate, like, all of this can be learned. That's what's so great about this. And like, even if you don't know how to do it right now, you can learn, like, bit by bit by bit. You and your partner can make any kind of changes you want to make in your partnership. And Baby Bomb does provide a roadmap for that. I like to think of it as like a cushion during this experience of integrating the parenting and partnering experience, a cushion to rest on during it.
Love that.
The couple is the constant, right? We start as a couple and it ends as a couple unless after empty nest the couple breaks up. So Kara said that one of the most important times, pivotal times, the biggest milestones is having a baby. Sometimes the second child is more difficult for reasons we don't have time to get into. But having a baby, definitely a huge milestone. I'd say the other one is leaving the nest. And that's when the couple is faced with being a couple again. If they haven't been a couple throughout, it's going to get weird.
Right. Who are we now? Right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And why weren't you?
I mean, that's part of the transition now. I mean, just like becoming, going from a dyad to a triad is a transition. Yeah, going from a triad to a dyad again is a transition too,
Right.
Yeah, and I want to echo a theme.
By triads, we mean three or more.
I want to echo a theme you guys have sort of said throughout here, which is I really appreciate, which is all of these transitions, all of these challenges that new parents face, or parents who are becoming parents again after 18 years or whatever, or a couple again. They're opportunities, right? These are opportunities to get to know ourselves, to heal, to connect at a deeper level, to learn how to be a team, there's just opportunity after opportunity.
Yes.
Seems endless. Yeah. And that's
how I like to think of it too. Yeah. That's how I like to think of it too, Jason. It's just opportunity after opportunity to heal and change.
Just set the stage, the space for this to happen. Don't set it. Don't stack it that so it's impossible to do this because you're just trying to catch up to just breathe.
Yeah. Be proactive. Yes. Totally. Stan and Kara, where can people find you both and the book?
Kara?
You can find me on Instagram here, Kara Hoppe. The book is available on Amazon today, and you can also buy it on our publisher's site, New Harbinger. In my handle, there's all that info for it, and I know it's in Stan's as well.
Okay, and we'll put that in the show notes. Stan?
thepactinstitute.com, where you can find me and trainings if you're a therapist, and retreats, couple retreats if you are a couple, and any of the writings or things that we're talking about today. And by the way, Jason, congratulations on your new book, Getting to Zero.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Cool.
Our love to Ellen and you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. And I'll give you a squeeze for you.
Please.
Thank you. Yeah, best to Tracy. Well, Kara, it's been really fun meeting you and hanging with you. Stan, great to see you again, as always. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank you so much, Jason.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
Bye, guys. All right, action step. Make sure you go buy this book, Baby Bomb. And you can get it right on Amazon. It's called Baby Bomb, A Relationship Survival Guide for New Parents. If you want to check out Kara Hoppe, she's Kara Hoppe with a K.com, and then pactinstitute.com for Stan. You also just Google Stan. He's kind of everywhere. And You can also Google past episodes, Jason Gaddis, Stan Tatkin, and you'll find other episodes with Stan and I jamming. Some really good ones, by the way. Okay. Action step. I think it's to have a contextual conversation of how do you want to, for parents, would-be parents, parents that are thinking about being a parent, or new parents, anyone maybe with kids under 12, you could be considered new parents, or people even about to lose their kids and be empty nesters. I want you to have a conversation with each other about this episode and about what your plan is, really, to parent, to not parent anymore, to how are you going to rock? How are you going to rock this? How are you going to roll this? All right. Yeah. And then if you're not a parent, not interested in being a parent, perhaps you could just reflect on what you got out of it for yourself and then share that with a friend. Okay. Okay, cool. Thanks again, everybody. And so good to have your ears and your support. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on all the social handles, at Jason Gaddis, at The Relationship School, those kind of handles. And we'll talk very soon. Hey, folks, good news. My new book, Getting to Zero, How to Work Through Conflict in Your High-Stakes Relationship, is available for pre-order. And here's what's cool. If y'all support me and you pre-order it, you get some cool stuff. Like I just recorded a 4-part mini video series on how to work through conflict, highlighting some of the chapters in the book. You can also get chapter 1 for free if you want to start digging in before the book comes out October 5th. So go to gettingtozerobook.com, gettingtozerobook.com. And thanks for being a listener and soon to be a reader of my new book. Hey, thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Share one of these videos with a friend. We want to help the planet get their act together around relationships. And you are one of them, so thank you.